Hello and welcome to Political Table Talk, a production by Nauset Regional High School's Honors Video Production class. Before I introduce myself and our guests today, I want to explain our production. Political Table Talk is a student-organized and produced talk show that tackles issues facing our community. Throughout our episode, we will discuss controversies at Nauset High School, on Cape Cod, and at the Massachusetts State House. Political Table Talk is going to be your plug for hearing student voices on important topics. Without further ado, I'm your host, Ben Niggel, and today we'll be discussing how young voices, our voices, matter, our opinions, and what's important to us as we enter the adult world. Some of our topics today might be gun control, healthcare, college tuition and loans, the economy, jobs after college, and most importantly, protecting and preserving our environment. Today, I'm joined with Jeremy Spivak and Nicholas Quanstrom. So before diving into our episode, can each of you further introduce yourself and your role in our Nauset community?
My name is Nicholas Quanstrom. I am a conservative, but what I do in my spare time is I compose and arrange music, and I also write books. So, yeah, that's it.
I'm Jeremy Spivak. I'm generally in the middle. Sometimes I lean towards the left, but I try to see both sides. In my spare time, I'm also very interested in music. I play piano, bass. I hope to maybe create a band someday. I also love to study history, and I love to read.
Nice. Thank you guys for coming on today. So first I want to start off with talking about young voices and how that matters. I think we all can agree that, young voices and young students in particular kind of came onto the scene last March with the March for Our Lives. March for Our Lives is a group of high school students organized in the aftermath of the tragic Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School shooting, and they rallied an estimate of 200,000 people, students, parents, community members, to march in Washington, D.C. I believe that this inspired millions of students around the world, millions of community members, and thousands in our own community. We heard from Representative Sarah Peak, who met with us shortly after the march and told us that our voices are being heard at the State House and that we need to continue to be in this fight. Additionally, I sat down with Senator Elizabeth Warren, and she reiterated that it is so important that today's youth get engaged. So, on the topic of gun control, what are your guys' thoughts? And kind of more importantly, even if you're pro or against gun control, how do you feel about students getting involved? Jeremy, you want to go first?
All right, sure. Well, I'll tell you, I was at the march, and I think it was great in that it brought so many people out and into politics. Because the youth, or at least the teens, and in the next few years, we're going to be the next group of voters. I think it's very important that we make our voices heard and that we get acquainted with the issues. I think gun control, well, it's a very divisive issue, of course. My view is mostly on the principle, because in all honesty, just observing gun control policies, we can't guarantee that it'll work entirely. It might limit the amount of guns on the scene, but there are already a lot of guns out there. There's a lot of ammunition. You can't take that all away. But I think in principle, it's the role of the government to help protect the people, and that while gun control isn't the perfect solution, I think it would be wrong to not institute any sort of reform and to just let gun shootings carry on as they are today.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a great thing that people are getting out there and expressing their opinions and that type of stuff. I'm not the type of person that goes to rallies or anything like that. In this case, I didn't get a chance to go to that one, and I wasn't planning to because I don't think rallies really do anything. But I definitely think that this one got the attention of at least some people within our government regarding this issue. Now, with gun control, I'm not really for it to an extent because I think it all depends on what exactly you intend to use your gun for. Mm-hmm. Whether it's going to be for hunting, whether it's going to be for your job, if you're a mall police officer or if you're a police officer. It's, you know what I mean? So you have to, I think we need to revisit and have to, think about how are we going to, it's hard to explain. We got to be.
Yeah, but overall, it's amazing that this movement, although it was more of a democratic, movement, it is amazing that we were able to bring, people from all sides
Oh, yeah.
of the spectrum together to say students' voices need to be heard. And that was a testament when, I was there in Washington, D.C., and there were hordes of people and like students from all over the world. And it wasn't just students, it was grandmothers, it was people that have never voted before, going to Washington because they felt that this was something important in their life, and they wanted to get out there.
When it comes to, sorry to cut you off, but when it comes to, the lives of other people, I think that I'm willing to put politics aside in order to help other people. That's what I'm willing to do, you know what I mean? And if that means putting my politics aside in order to save lives in the future, that's, I'm willing to do that.
I think that's something that this
So,
march did. It
yeah,
really brought
yeah,
people
definitely.
together in a way.
Oh, yeah.
Jeremy, you brought up an interesting point about, just gun control might not be the solution, and there's a lot of people that are like, ban all guns, that's the solution. Do you want to talk a little bit more about maybe other things we can do if, obviously gun control is probably a factor of it, making sure that people with mental illnesses don't possess a gun. But, what else are solutions that you hear about that you think might be beneficial?
That's a very tough question because there is no obvious solution to this problem, and that's why it hasn't been solved yet. And as far as solutions go, I think gun control is the most direct, partial solution. We could also take another look at mental health and just try to assess people or help people before they reach this point. But there are just some people out there who might be beyond help if they're willing to commit this kind of act. And it's really just, I guess, being prepared and just trying to create a good environment to maybe thwart some people from thinking these terrible things. It's a very tough issue.
Now, do you feel, and this is a question for both of you, that our culture around guns plays a role into why we have so many mass shootings? Because we are the only nation that gives citizens the right to bear arms like we do. Like we surprisingly don't limit guns to the degree that many other nations do, and the U.S. seems to have many, many, many more reoccurring school shootings and mass shootings.
Yeah, other
So
countries are
is
looking
the
at us like, why is this still happening? in
yeah.
America?
So is it the
Yeah.
culture you think too, that the fact that a lot of people are too proud to give up their gun, so they feel like it's a part of what made the U.S. America?
I think it's a form of protection because people see safety when they have a means to defend themselves. But it's partially culture, but where there are people, there will be violence. If you look in the UK and London, they have strong gun control laws, but then the big issue is stabbings. People will go around London and with knives, and there are a lot of stabbings there. It's a major issue. People die very often, and when people have weapons, I think violence will happen. So we have to work to discourage that as well as just
And
working.
get people help.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, with our country being the only country that has this many mass shootings, I really, don't think we should really focus on the gun laws. It's like you said, the people with mental health issues. We got to look for these warning signs. You know what I mean? That we haven't, that have been shown. You know what I mean? That may have not been shown within the house of this person, but they've been shown within his social media or how he was acting out in public. You know what I mean? So
I agree. Definitely getting people help that they need is definitely a part of securing our schools and our community.
Yeah.
Granted, it's very difficult because
it is.
unless you constantly have constant surveillance on someone, how do you know?
Which then people are going to freak out about.
Yeah.
How are both of you, if you don't mind, getting involved? I don't know if you want to talk about gun control or making our schools more safe, but how are you getting out there and making your voices heard? You have a radio show, I hear, right?
Oh, I do.
Do you talk about anything on that, or?
Unfortunately not. That's not a very political position. I'm very heavily moderated on what I can say. But I just try to be a positive person. I try to help someone if they are in need of help. I try to be supportive to the people around me. And honestly, I think at the moment that's the best I can do.
It's just make sure you're a friend for people that need one.
Yeah, and try to be there for people when they need it.
Nick?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just a guy who has opinions about things. Yeah, I'm not looking to go into politics or anything. I'm not looking to,
Mhm.
I just have opinions about things, and I'm just expressing them. So
Well, definitely from someone who's been to like rallies and stuff, even if it's something that I don't support that you do, definitely I would recommend going to like events where you can hear from people because
right.
that's a good way to get your voice heard and also
Yeah.
hear from other people.
Yeah, it's a good way to just hear different ideas from lots of people. Like,
Yeah.
I'm open to hearing ideas from people on all sides of the political spectrum, the right, the
Mhm.
left, the middle, because when you spread ideas, you can help, you can work to compromise and just think of new ways to create solutions.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to talk about another thing that many of us will be facing is after college or even after high school, we kind of have to find jobs and adult a little bit. A lot of students that I know have been coming back to the Cape after they graduate college, and they don't really have any clear path because there aren't a lot of good paying jobs that they can find. So what are your thoughts on that? Are there jobs? Are there not enough jobs? Not enough good paying jobs? Or is it just a Cape problem?
Well, of course, jobs aren't just a Cape problem, but we are a very tourist-based economy, which means you'll most likely be employed in services. Now, I know one thing the Cape needs are the trades, so plumbers, electricians. So people who go to the tech school are going to do pretty well in Cape Cod, I'd say. But job shortages are an issue here. They're a big issue in the rest of the country. And I think as America continues to trend away from industrialization and closer to a more service-based economy, there will be shortages in some areas. So maybe whereas everyone pursued a factory job before, that might be the way to go again for some people because that's where jobs are needed.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's all about location. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Where you are. If you look at where, the Cape is, like you said, tourist, very tourist based. But if you go in to Massachusetts, to places like Springfield, Worcester, Palmer, those places, they had factories all around, and they still have factories where people would go in and they'd be factory workers, that type of stuff. So, but now I think it's so important to get a college degree in whatever you want to get your college degree in. Now, I'm not going to press you to get a college degree because it's not my place to tell you you need to go to college. But I think it is very important to at least get an associate's degree. You know what I mean? And it's so important to have something, have something from college because, or else you're going to be working a minimum wage shift at a grocery store. You know what I mean?
So we talk about
So-
college, and as a senior, we're all seniors. We're looking at college, maybe. How important is it to you to find a university that's affordable, like maybe a state school, but not necessarily like have that title, like you went to an Ivy League or you went to a private university? How do you balance that out while looking for colleges?
Well, I'm very in favor of state schools. I plan to attend the state school. I'm currently applying to UMass Amherst. I hope to get into the honors college. Yeah, tuition, it really should be affordable because, granted, it's a very big service that the school provides you when you go there. But for people to be in debt for 10, 15 years after they graduate from school, it's a tremendous financial pressure. And it really puts the newer generations through a lot of strain. So I really appreciate that the public schools have a lower cost, and that's something that really draws me to them because it's just more fair, I believe.
And I also think that, despite being public, there are some amazing professors that teach at public schools.
Oh, yes.
Like even professors who, might teach at an Ivy League school, go to public schools because they feel like that's a way to, give back to their community a little bit, is to teach people going to different level schools, I guess. Nick, what are your thoughts on universities?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the prices for college when you go to, I think if you want to say you want fair prices, now I want to go to college too, you know what I mean? And I want to get a reasonable price for college.
Mhm.
But when I go to college, I don't mind paying what my education is worth. If you pay more than what so if school cheats you out of paying for more than what you're getting out of your education, I don't think that's fair. You know what I mean? And then when we go around, and I'm going to mention Bernie Sanders here, when he said that he wants to pay, or he wants to tax people and pay for, what was it, college?
I'm not sure where you're going with that, but
No, I can't remember what it was.
You mean you wanted to
exactly.
you wanted to lower or make tuition free?
Yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh.
When he wanted to make tuition free, when I heard that, I was like, what? Tuition is never going to be free. Who is going to pay for the college tuition? I'm not paying for it. You know what I
Well-
mean? I'm not going to pay for somebody else's college tuition. I'm only going to pay for my own. Does that make sense?
It
Yeah,
does.
I think where Bernie Sanders was going with that, and I don't know enough about his platform because I didn't support him
Right.
particularly in the election. I think where he was going was the fact that we are one of the only nations, going back to, one of the only ones, whose tuition is as high as it is. Many other countries do have free tuition. Does that mean free college? No. Still have to pay for housing, still have to pay for books.
Yeah.
I think where he was going at is when you educate everyone and make an equal opportunity for everyone to at least get some sort of college education, whether it's public or private, then society as a whole is lifted up. Because right now, if we have society who's very educated,
Right.
and then people that don't even have a high school diploma or have a high school diploma, that's what causes the social and economic gaps that we have. That's why the 1/10 of the 1% have more money now than the top 50% had like 50 years ago.
And that's
And
where
that's why our shrinking middle class takes place. I think what Bernie Sanders was trying to get at is the fact that he wants to make sure that, we're very fortunate. We live on Cape
Right,
Cod.
yeah.
Many families, might be struggling to live here, but struggling to live on Cape Cod is totally different than like struggling to live in a different part of the country.
We do have
Because
very good schools.
we have amazing schools, but we also are very fortunate where we live, and we are probably doing well off compared to a lot of other struggling families. So I think he was really trying to go after people who were like in inner cities or the suburbs who couldn't afford a college education or who could never even think of it, trying to get those people.
But that's why we have scholarship programs.
Uh-huh.
That's the thing. So no, I'm not saying no to the idea, but I'm just saying that I'm not going to pay for somebody else's college.
That's fair.
tuition. I'm not being selfish or anything,
Yeah.
but it's my money.
That's fair.
You know what I mean? So, but that's just.
But do you agree? Do you think that college tuition, at least at some private schools, is a bit too high right now?
I think it's ridiculous at like Harvard. No offense, but I think at Harvard and some of these high Ivy League schools, it's just way too high.
Well,
The state schools, I wouldn't do anything.
I'm a little partial to Harvard, but
No.
just so you know,
The sweater didn't give it off or
no,
anything.
the
Uh,
tuition at Harvard, they actually are ranked number 5 for the most bang for your buck. The average person that attends Harvard only pays $9,000, which is
Right.
significantly less than any state school. And in fact, like something like a quarter of their class doesn't pay anything. So Harvard gives very great financial
Well,
aid.
what about the acceptance rates? Like how?
Well, we're not talking about that. Okay, we are moving on. Let's talk about our community a little more.
Okay.
I know, both I and Jeremy are involved in a nonprofit. But before we talk about that a little bit, Nick, what do you do in the community? You talked a little bit about music.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really do all that much. I mean, before I look to do things in the community, I'm looking to like graduate
Uh-huh.
and get my degree, and then I'm looking to do stuff in the community because I want to make sure I'm set, and then I'm
Yeah.
gonna start doing things. But so
What do your aspirations include?
what do you mean?
Like after college, what do you want to?
After college,
You said you want to be involved in the community. What are you thinking?
I don't know. I mean, whatever's available.
Just
I mean,
something.
Yeah, something. Whether it's volunteering at the soup kitchen or whatever. I mean, I'll do anything. you know
cool.
what I mean? So.
Things will come up.
So I think, Jeremy, do you want to talk about the Hope Foundation a little bit, briefly, what we
Um,
have been doing?
Yeah, sure. So poverty is a big problem everywhere, but especially on Cape Cod, it's a major issue. And so with Hope Foundation, we just work to help combat that, raise funds to help give supplies to students who may need them, raise money for soup kitchens or
Mhm.
food pantries, just to help give back to our community because it's better when everyone does have access to basic.
And I guess we're doing a little plug. You talked about we fundraised thousands of dollars and we're able to fill over 100 backpacks with school supplies for children on Cape Cod.
Mhm.
I think we probably have over 20 members right now and volunteers. I think that's a great way that students are getting involved. I don't know, Nick, you're welcome to talk to me after if you want to get involved about that.
Definitely. Yeah.
But that's a way students are getting out there. Another opportunity NASIT has to offer is huge in environment. We have the Green Club and the YAP Club, which is Youth Against Plastic Pollution, who create pottery cups. Do either of you know about the Green Club or the YAP Club at all?
I am familiar with the Green Club. I've walked in on Mr. Craven's speeches a couple times.
And do you want to speak anything to NASIT's clubs that we have to offer, in particular environmental clubs?
Well, I think if you're interested in the environment and preserving it, which is very important, you should definitely get involved.
And if you are a NASIT student or a community member, feel free to check out nasitschools.org, and you can check out all the clubs we have on the Daily Bulletin, which I would stress to get involved with. So before we close, does anyone have anything else they would like to talk about?
Oh, do we do anything else for the community? Not just the Hope Foundation, I think.
I do a few things. I'm involved with the Animal Rescue League,
Oh,
and
that's great.
what else do I do?
You do a lot, Ben. You're very busy.
I do a lot. I'm spacing it. So it looks like we're running out of time, and we need to come to a closing. I want to thank our guests today for coming on to this month's episode of Political Table Talk. I want to extend my deepest gratitude to the Honors Video Production class at NASA Regional High School, and of course to you for watching this month's episode. Please stay tuned for December's showing, and until then, I'm your host, Ben Niggel. Stay engaged, be an activist, and make your voice heard. Thank you.